So we are pleased today to have two talks. The first one from Samuel Benveniste from I don't know how we say in English, from Broca Living Lab, APHP. And he's going to talk about e-VITA, a virtual coach. He's going to explain, and perhaps also Salvatore will explain a little bit. And secondly, we have Gabriele Trovato, sorry for the pronunciation, from Waseda University. And the talk is related to the first one. And as you can see, it's about smart technologies for smart aging, which is, I think, a very important subject nowadays. So,
yes, I want to just thank you, everybody, every one of you, and Samuel and Gabriele for joining our seminar. I mean, it was a little bit tricky to organize this seminar this time, but I mean, I'm very happy that we were able to put something together. And actually, I'm really happy for this introduction on the e-VITA project, that is a Japanese-European project. I think Samuel and Gabriele will are working on the same project from two different points of view. So I think they will introduce more from such point of view the project that it's basically on aging. So in particular, Samuel, the Broca Living Lab is a laboratory that focuses exactly on smart aging. So is a living lab. Maybe you can talk also something about the the Center for Stimulation and Cognition. Yeah, okay. But I don't want to steal more time to the speaker, so I leave it to Samuel. Thank you.
All right, I'll share my screen. Okay, so you have to stop sharing before I can share. Can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the invitation. So I'm Samuel Benveniste. I work at Broca Living Lab, which is a living lab situated in Broca Hospital in Paris. And today I'm going to present to you a new project, well, that started 6 months ago, but so still rather new, I would say, that we started with Japanese and Italian and German partners, which is called e-VITA. And its aim is to provide virtual coaching for older adults. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the co-creation, impact assessment, and ethical issues of this project, because that's what we do at Broca Living Lab mostly. And hopefully then you will discover other aspects through Gabriele's talk, which I will only briefly touch on. So just as Salvatore was asking, the Broca Living Lab is a small team of 15 people situated at Broca Hospital. We have a public research lab and an NGO that together make the Broca Living Lab. And it is led by Professor Rigaud, who is a geriatrician at APHP, and directed by Maribel Pinault, who is our CEO, and she's a psychologist. And we are specialized in robotics and simulation tech and public health. And we have we have about 10 years of experience now in co-design of technologies for mostly aging, healthcare in any case. So just to very briefly tell you what we do, we have three main areas of work, as I was saying. We do a lot of interventions using social robotics, robotics in the large acception of the term. So we use Nao, we use Paro, we use avatars also, and many different kinds of things to do what we call robotic mediation, which is a psychotherapy using robots. Basically, for example, we use Paro to work on pain management for people who have Alzheimer's disease and who suffer during critical care, for example. Another thing we do, and well, I always put these slides on because I like to show those photos, is we do VR therapy for people with hoarding disorders. So basically, it's we do a lot of different things with VR therapy. But what you see on this screen is on the left, yeah, somebody's flat where they cannot live anymore because they have too much stuff in there. And so we try to provide them with a virtual tool where they can basically learn to throw away their stuff. And it's quite interesting. And then last thing, which is very important in our activities, is public health and awareness raising. And this is what I'm showing you is the characters that we have designed for a series of 11 videos that we made for awareness raising about caregivers, for people, family caregivers of the elderly, in order to show them what kind of tools they have at their disposal, what technical tools can do for them. And well, we have a series of videos there on our website if you want to check it out. So the e-VITA project is a EU-Japanese virtual coaching project. It's funded by the European Commission and the Japanese MIC. It's quite a big project because, as you can see, it's 22 partners in total, with very different kinds of specific skills and tools, and which all unite around one objective, which is to create a coaching tool for people, for elderly, healthy older adults. It's important because the point is not to help people with chronic, with terminal diseases or whatever. The point is to help older adults prevent prevent health risks and basically stay healthy and active for as long as possible. So I wanted to show this because just to set the scene. I mean, tools, computer tools have been used for about as long as computer social interaction exists. For coaching or therapeutics and stuff. And so maybe some of you, the older ones like me probably might know about ELISA, which was which is still a text-only Nigerian therapist that was included in Emacs, which is a computer editor, code editor. And well, basically a Rogerian therapist, the principle is that a Rogerian therapist will always validate what you are saying. So it will not say anything new, but simply say, oh yeah, it's bad. Oh, please continue. Yes, what do you think about X, and X being the thing that you just said and stuff. And so the point of this program was to show that that the social interaction is can be simulated with very, very simple tools. Of course, it's very easy to trick this program, but you know, it's when you use it for the first time, it can be surprisingly surprisingly impactful. Then probably you all know this one, these kind of tools, but I chose the example of CHArt, which is a coaching tool for fitness, which appeared when smartphones appeared. It was one of the first things that people did, because you all know that there's a huge obesity epidemic also, and it was one of the ways to go about this. By the way, it's not only about obesity, because exercise is basically the one intervention you can do for your own well-being. I mean, if you do anything, it's the best thing to do is, if you do only that, is exercising. And then now, I mean, things are bubbling up everywhere. And so this is a picture of, on the right, it's a picture of the Alexa Echo Dot. And just to mention that Merck, which is a big pharmaceutical company, launched recently a challenge for making diabetes coaching assistance with Alexa. And the winner was a company called SugarPod, if you want to check it out. So basically, yeah, we have come a long way since ELISA. So I showed that already. So this is a use case, so it's a bit long, so I'm not going to read it all, but basically it shows what we envision one could do with e-VITA. The point is to mix sensors, artificial intelligence, and human coaching to provide people with easy access to advice, to health advice that is personalized, which is very important. The important part is that if you want to give people advice that they will actually apply, it has to be very well tailored to their needs and very flexible. But I won't go too much into the details. Basically, the point is that we will equip people's home with sensors, and that through the readings of the sensors, we will be able to provide them with important health advice. So again, just to show you that it's a very wide-ranging project, because there are it has a very important goal of developing standards and norms for interoperability between Europe and Japan, because in fact the whole point is that now we have all these different tools that can be useful for coaching, that can be useful for data measurement and stuff, but there is a big gap in standardization that makes it pretty much impossible to link them all together. And so the point of this project is also to work on that. So now we are getting more into the area where I intervene we intervene with our lab. So first thing that is very important for us in this project is that we try to design the coaching tool based on the actual needs and aspirations of elderly users. So of course there is physical health, but as you can see, there are plenty of other things. There is that you might not think of. There is competence, for example. You need to feel that you are good at what you do. There is meaning. You need to feel that what you do is useful for society. Popularity also. You need to feel that others around you are happy with what you are doing, and things like that. So it's a very, what we call a social approach to health. So it's not, I mean, of course, then the interventions themselves are going to be health related, but you have to remember engage in the intervention, not because simply they want to improve their health, but more because of things that are more related to what I'm showing you right now on the screen. And this is very important because it's a common mistake to think that if you come to people with a health intervention, they will immediately realize that it's good for them and they will implement it. If that was true, nobody would smoke, for example. So I'm not going to detail all that because I won't have time, but the important part is that we are using community coaching with virtual coaching together, and we are targeting a large variety of aspects of functioning, because as you will see further down the talk, our target impact is quality of life, overall quality of life. And you don't impact quality of life if you don't have the ability to impact every single area that is listed here. Of course, not everyone has to do it. Not all users can choose what they want to do, but the coaching system has to be able to do all those things if it wants to have a significant impact. So that's the technical architecture. Just to show you that we have basically four layers. There is the layer of needs assessment on top, which is what I was. Then we use interfaces, natural interfaces and sensors to provide the coaching. Then we have a whole, I would say, interoperability layer which connects all the different devices, because it's as I told you, it's not a very well-known problem, but it's a very big problem to have all these interoperate. And then we have all the AI data fusion and knowledge management tools. Yeah. And again, there is a very important thing here, is that we will have to blend images, text, user status, context, overall context, voice data, scientific references and stuff, and also sensor readings to provide users with tailored coaching. And this is very important because one of the biggest challenges of the project would be to blend the sensor readings with the human coaching reports, because as I showed, there will be everyone participating in the project will get also some human coaching, and we will also rely on the humans to provide us with tactical points, and we'll have to fuse that with all the to integrate that into the AI system. So now these are the interfaces that we are going to use. I will not cover Daruma and Santo because Gabriele will talk about them, but I will only briefly mention the others. So we have a hologram made by the company Gatebox. Maybe you've seen that. It's getting more and more popular in Japan. I'm very curious of how European citizens will react to this. We don't know yet. Then we have the classic Neo, which we will also use to embody the coaching advice, and probably to, for example, show some physical exercises or things like that. So these are the two devices that I will not cover. Gabriele will explain. And then we also have a sub-study that will be conducted, sadly only in Germany, but that will use a very, very, very realistic Android that you see in this picture. And well, in Germany and in Japan, of course, because it comes from Japan, and we will see how that works. But basically, the important point is that we will try all these different interfaces, plus the smartphone, of course, and regular devices, in order to find the best way to convey the advice depending on the kind of advice given and depending also on the people on the receiving end. And we will also try to use some new sensors, but I'm not sure whether we will be able to use this one because maybe, you know, it still doesn't have a CE marking. So maybe we will not be able to include it into the project. In fact, this is a sensor activity. So this is a bit of a complicated image, but basically what's important is that the whole project is thought of from a global perspective, linking older adults with industry partners, community actors, and university actors. This is very important because you cannot think of such a technology, such a coaching technology as isolated. It will never work. If you just drop the technology down on people, it will not help them with anything. It has to connect them to other more direct. It's a bridge. It's not something that will work in itself. And most importantly, it has to help people participate in their community. So we will have partnerships with NGOs, local NGOs, in every in every place that we experience we conduct the experiments for the project. So as I was saying, the expected impacts are improving quality of life, preserving physical, cognitive, mental, and social well-being, but also showing that user-centered innovation and social participation are key for the design of such technologies. Here is the proof of concept study that we are leading. So it will involve 180 people. Hopefully divided pretty much in the same as the same well, like shown in the diagram on the bottom left. So half of each gender, half people living alone, and half of people living with someone. Same for income, education, community, and age. The important part is that it only targets healthy older adults, not sick patients from the hospital. So we will not recruit them in our hospital. Among the 180 people involved, there will be a control group of 60 people, and 120 people will be given the overall intervention. They will receive sensors, a smartphone, and one interface. So for some, it will be the hologram. So for some, it will be the robots. And for some, it will be emotional devices. And as I was saying, there are plenty of different assessments that we do. But the most important part is EQ5D, the European Quality of Life 5 dimensions, which is kind of an industry standard now. Right, so I think I still have 5 minutes, and I would like to develop a little bit on the ethical issues, which are very important for this project. Obviously, we are equipping older people with sensors, cameras, everything, you know, and basically tracking every single thing that they do. Well, potentially at least. So of course, you can imagine that such privacy, well, ethical concerns are very important. And there are two sides to this coin. There is the ethical issues for the deployment, but there is also ethical issues for the research itself. And it's not, it's related, but it's not the same. So first and foremost is the deployment. So I will speak about we need to implement privacy by design. So I'm just going to define those terms for those who don't know them, and maybe I can answer questions then. But basically, privacy by design relies on three things. It's data minimization, which means not taking more data than you need to. which is not necessarily a very, I would say, instinctive approach for researchers like us. We'd rather log everything we can and analyze it afterwards, but then we try not to do that. Then there is edge computing. The point there is to process as much data as possible on the side of the user so that we don't have to send it to the cloud. And that's very important too, because the less data you send to the cloud, the less likely you are to have a privacy breach. And then most at least is user transparency and consent, sorry, which is very, very important. And this means that we are going to explain very thoroughly and to users how we are going to use their data. And this is usually not very well done. And there is a whole research area there to understand how best to explain to elderly people how their data would be processed and used. Because for now, I think that they do give consent, but they don't really understand what they consent to very often. And this is a bad situation. And I think, you know, all of us, we don't read the terms and conditions. We just click OK, and then we don't know what happens with our data next. Then there is the issue of accessibility. So for this, we use natural, so accessibility in terms of handicap or disability, but not only. So natural interfaces, as you saw, it's not a purely smartphone-based app, because for people with impairments or just with no habit of computers, it's very important to have more usable interfaces. We use standardized tools. Same. You have to have something that is very well standardized so that when you plug in a new device, it works right away. Because otherwise, you know, if you need to be an engineer to use the system, it's not accessible. It doesn't work anymore. And of course, last thing is you need to have affordable use. And for this, you have to think globally, that's what I was saying, and think and work during the project with the potential funders and stuff, because obviously not everyone is going to buy an AO for their home. It costs about at least 10K, so you cannot really do that. And the last thing, and then I will close with that, is of course there is also a notion of dignity, and the notion of dignity, there are three main things. The first thing is that users have to be able to customize the system. This means that, you know, some advice may be important for me, but I may not want it anyways. You know, for example, if I smoke, and the coach tells me every day that I shouldn't smoke, I mean, it's useless. I'm not going to stop smoking. It's just going to make me depressed. So I don't want to. And more broadly, you want to respect the perspective of the person and not force the health advice on him or her. Second thing is we don't rely only on the AI. We use hybrid coaching with AI on the one side, but humans on the other side, so that people don't feel let down, and that they a human dimension that AI will not be able to provide. And the last thing is, of course, we start from the needs of the people to design the interventions, and not the other way around. We don't start from the technology and find an intervention that works with it. And then I had a slide about the ethical issues of the research, but I will leave that for question if anyone wants to learn about it. I give you the project contacts because I'm obviously not aware of everything that happens in this huge project. But if you want to learn more, Dr. Wishing is the German coordinator, and Dr. Ogawa is the Japanese coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Very, very interesting. It's a really huge project.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there is someone in the crowd that want to ask some question related to the presentation.
Yes, I would
Charles?
like.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Charles.
Hello, Samuel. How are you?
I'm good.
In great shape. A very nice talk and very, very interesting about the well-being, the well-aging, and so on. So very interesting about one question. It's your answer to one question, because now we are, as you say, working on the same topic, how to use robotics for age people, and so on much more. But now because there are some kind of assistant. They assist people, and we are on the idea that we want to design, well adapt robotics, virtual or real, as assistant. We have to work on a task, the task at hand by the user. Mm-hmm. So we try to define robotics according to task. So what do you think about that? For instance, we think that robot can bring someone to autonomous car, for instance. So the robot will have to drive the person and so on. Or what robot? What task? What do you think about this?
Well, this is a huge question. Well, specifically, what you are asking is pertains to what we call what we usually call service robots. And to be frank, we are not very knowledgeable in this area. Because what we mostly do, and that's what we do also in e-VITA, is we use the robots as interfaces purely. So I think that there is a very interesting use of robots as interfaces in themselves. And I don't think that they have to provide the service, for example, enabling people to walk around or enabling people to do this or that to be useful. But of course, it would be interesting. And in our hospital, in another project, one thing that popped out that is very, very simple, you will not be surprised, but that is very important, is being able to lead people around in the hospital.
Yeah, great.
So that's a very simple task, but it's a very important one, because in fact, people don't read the signs. They are stressed. They are, sometimes they have hearing and visual problems and stuff. So yeah, from our experience, one of the most important things that a service robot would do is being able to lead people around. And of course, then it's a bit more dangerous, but if you manage to make it so that the people can also use the robot as a walking aid, of course it's even better. But I don't think that at least we suggested it. We tried to investigate this matter in the hospital, and caregivers are not absolutely not cool with that. They are too afraid.
Yeah, great. But a simple task such as follow me to the robot can provide a lot of interaction.
Yeah, well, there I would, in the hospital it's more well, you mean the robot says follow me, right? It's not the robot that's following you. Yeah, so
or both. Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for your talk. Like it very, very much.
Thank you.
Other questions? Isis?
Okay, I have my micro. Thank you very much also. I wanted to talk about privacy by design and ethical issues. And you said that the idea is that all people do really consent, and that they can understand what they sign if we want. And I was wondering how we can be sure of that, and how can you prove it, and how.
Well, yeah.
I think it's quite difficult.
there are different techniques for that. Of course, first thing first, you can never be sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very hard to find a way to present things where you can guarantee that everyone will understand, you know. But there are three things that we like to do. First thing, and it's not always done, it's to be actually transparent, you know, because if you check out what solution providers do, very often they are not very clear about exactly what they are going to do with this and that, because they don't want people to be afraid. And, you know, it's very easy to forget something, to forget to be absolutely transparent. So there is one thing is actually auditing the technology to understand exactly what it does. That's one thing. Second thing is the vocabulary and the ways that those things are presented is necessarily technical. You cannot explain that properly with simple terms. So what we do is we provide a summary and simplified document on top of the real actual document that describes everything very precisely. And this document, what we do, there is only one way to know whether it works or not. You have to test it. You design it with people and you test it with people. So there are processes for that. For example, in French, there is Français facile à lire et à comprendre, FALC, which is an approach for that. And basically, the point is to have very simple sentences, use specific vocabulary, and all the things like that. But the most important part is testing it. I mean, you cannot, if you just write it yourself and try to think, okay, I'm going to make this simple, it's never simple enough, or it's never clear enough. You have to try it out. And the third thing, sorry,
and you ask questions to people if they really understood what they
what you do is you give people the leaflet, and you ask them what the most important question is, what do you remember from what you just read? What messages
that's what you call test. You test these persons. Okay.
Yeah, we test with these persons. And then the last thing is that you have to rely on also on images and videos and things like that. Not only text, not only there are many new media now that can convey this, and you have to use those to make things more understandable.
And so you can like show a prototype or something like this, you mean?
Also, if you can, but that's a lot more complicated, because I was thinking of applying. I mean, it's if you have content like video content or virtual reality content or stuff, you can send it anywhere in the world, and they can use it anywhere in the world. If you want to show a prototype, you have to organize that, and it's of course it's very good, but it's not easy to do.
I mean, not really a prototype. I was thinking about something which is more or less related, and like they can see and imagine more or less. That not really the prototype.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is also a very important thing to do. You are absolutely right. And always think that you may have to explain things several times. I mean, you explain things once, but people may forget, or people may withdraw their consent, or so you have to be able to, repeat, say again, explain. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if there are other questions. Actually, I have my own small question, because I know a bit about these stuffs. The point of using such technologies with this kind of particular kind of people is I'm thinking about the works of Amadeo Cesta or Takayuki Kanda. They tried actually to use real robots in the real world, you know, in the wild in some way. The point is, there's always this kind of novelty effect. You know? You put in the robot, the new technology with the elderly people. The people is maybe amazed from one day, for the first day, the second day, the third day. The third day, actually, they used to put it somewhere to take it. So I think. Did you think about some ways to take in account this novelty effect and continue to, I don't know, a continuous development, a continuous improvement of the system? I don't know if you thought about it. You talked about personalization. Maybe that could be a key. I don't know.
Well, you are perfectly right. So, I mean, yeah, it's true that the robot has this novelty effect. I think it's good to take advantage of it so that people want to discover the system. But then if you want people to continue using the thing, there is only one way. It has to provide actual useful advice. So it's very simple. It has to provide a proper service. You are perfectly right. The robot itself, even if it's cool and moves nice, and it will not I mean, interest will not recur, or I don't know how you say that, but will not be maintained in time. So yeah, in e-VITA specifically, the issue really is to be able to provide interesting advice and also have this hybrid work where the robot will advise people to go to community activities, and during community activities they will talk about what they do with the robot, and so they will want to do other things with the robot and discover new things this way. So that's but basically, yeah, it has to be useful to sustain use,
long-term use.
Yeah. Another thing which is, I think, very important, but it's not related directly to e-VITA, is that we have seen in our work with robot mediated psychotherapy that robots are different from animals and different from humans. They trigger very specific responses from people that are useful in therapy, and that are it's not only a matter, of course there is a matter of novelty, but even in the long run, there are people, for some people, using robotics will trigger reactions and have them say things, for example, that they would not say to their therapist. And this is not we have seen that this behavior it remains over time. It's not just the first time because it's a new robot they will speak and then after they will stop. It's really the robot has something that is different. Just like an animal, you're happy to see the dog 10 times and you're also happy to see the robot 10 times in a row, something like that.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if there are other questions. Maybe we can pass to the second speaker, Gabriele Trovato. Gabriele Trovato, actually, I want to, maybe we didn't saw about this. Samuel is in France, but actually Gabriele right now is in Tokyo. So he works actually at Waseda University. And so I'm really, really pleased to have him here because we were able to manage also with the time differences and so on. So the work of Gabriele, I think, is really a kind of pioneering work. So I live in the Gabriele. Are you ready?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I leave you.
Should I start?
Yes, you can. Yes. Thank you.
All right, can you see it?
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for coming, and especially to Salvo for inviting me. Again, I would like to show a couple of slides for self-introduction, because I'm in Japan at the moment. I'm located in Japan, but I'm Italian, graduated in Pisa, not even in robotics, actually in computer engineering. And in my background, I have not robots, but rather video games. Maybe some of you have heard and know this this game called Civilization. Then I'm currently in Waseda, which is located in Tokyo, but in the previous years I have been visiting several institutions abroad, so it's very common whenever going to some conference to see someone that I met in any of these places. Is a big network. So that's just for the short introduction, and today I'm gonna add something regarding the e-VITA project, just a few words, but Samuel already said the main things, and then I will go more deep into my own research, presenting the two robots and some theoretical background. So what is the purpose of e-VITA? I could say this is not our purpose. As Samuel said, the robots, we are thinking them of as an interface. So this, is the list of the partners. And regarding this collection of devices, this was shown like as for advertising material, but there's a difference here in that the top 5, so excluding X-Brain and Tixal, they are properly robots, while the two down here are sensors. There is a strong distinction between them because the robots will act as a front-end interface, while the sensors will be placed in environment or used in case of necessity for certain use cases, and then all the rest will be processed elsewhere. So there is a AI, so machine learning and natural language processing, and all the use case configuration, which is the core of the coach, and it is integrated to some middleware to the things that are in contact with the end user, which are the front-end devices, including robots and sensors. So front-end devices also include the gate box, the kind of hologram, which is actually not a hologram, but it's similar. And in Waseda, we will concentrate on the actual development of these two robots, or redevelopment, I would say, and on development of sensors and running the work package about living labs, so getting periodically feedback from end users and stakeholders. Now, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, this is not going to happen in Japan. So we are planning to have an experiment in Sendai this autumn, while in Europe, perhaps the situation will be more favorable for collecting actual data from living labs. So regarding Sendai, it's going to be in a lab situation. So how are we going to do this? Well, I wanted to show, if we talk of elderly people, this is from a video from my grandmother's house. You can see how many religious icons she keeps at home. And this should make us think how important religion is if we want to take care of them in particular. There are some facts like that elderly, at least in the Western world, in Europe, are more religious than younger generation, and this is especially true in countries like Italy. And And then there's evidence, which you can find also in the link in the paper cited below, of an association between a religion and physical and mental health and well-being. So regarding the first one, Santo, the design of Santo comes from a familiar appearance of sacred icons of a saint in a niche, in a kind of a chapel, which can be found commonly in the streets, like this one in the bottom right was taken in a photo taken in Napoli. In the top left is from my hometown, and the bottom left is from Rome in a sacred art expo organized by the Holy See. And this is something very common that is even integrated in the urban architecture. And so even if you're not such a believer, even if you're not even believer, if you're not Christian, if you're raised into such environment, you're used to this iconography. And I wanted to make a robot to mechanize this appearance, this iconography. And Santo is the acronym of Sanctified Theomorphic Operator. I will come back later on this word theomorphic, about its meaning. So it's an acronym actually, but also Santo means saint in Italian, and especially it means saint in Spanish, as it was developed in Peru, in the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru in Lima. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound. Maybe not. Maybe it's not activated. Okay, but yes, as you touch the hand, yeah, it's, well, it's okay. Well, when you touch the hand, it activates and starts speaking. It has 2 degrees of freedom, and its main jobs are to keep company with the user during prayer through an elderly friendly interface. So you can see that it's just based on light, voice, and touch. It contains a database of prayer and of stories of the saints and the Bible. So it's a kind of, I would say, the idea is to make a kind of Spotify of the religious sphere. Now, in terms of technical details, there is no particularly advanced breakthrough technology, as there's just microphone, camera, LEDs there's a halo in the aureola in the back, and LEDs in the back of the head, and the bottom of the niche, and the candle. And they all have a function as they regulate the flow or the dialogue. So basically it's recording. When it's recording the user's voice, the LEDs in the aureola will be turned on, and it will turn off, and this back here will turn on when the saint is speaking. This, okay, I'm afraid I didn't activate the sharing the sound. I don't know where the option is in Zoom, but this was taken in Germany, as it was a successful experiment of praying the Holy Father. And interestingly, the interaction worked in some cases, but showed its limitations given by the timing of speaking and the power of the microphone. And so there were many cases in which they couldn't hear each other, the saint and the person. And another limitation was that this is a design for a Catholic user, and if the user is a Protestant, it will not work so well. So this is gonna need a redesign for e-VITA. There are also a few successful experiments that have been published. This one was performed in Lima, inside the church. I collected some data, trying to get the association between the perception, trying to get the perception, and I got the perception of sacredness, and I found some association between the sacredness of Santo and the preference over icons, because in faith is kind of subjective matter, whether one objectifies the faith and needs some icons to pray, or is just more abstract, like in an Islamic way. The Vatican, the voice of the Vatican said was that providing content is good, but should avoid giving interpretations of the Bible, because there is the human component which is necessary, and of course the human component means it's the role of the church. And criticism, rather than from the Vatican, came much more from scientific community, saying that religion and science have nothing to do. This is immoral. You need human presence, or a common misunderstanding. The robot will become an idol, which is not. It is a misunderstanding, because it's not made to be a personification, a robotification of God itself, or whatever that the user is supposed to pray to, because the user is not praying to the robot, but supposed to pray together with the robot to God. And yes, so this was the acceptance, but all those comments ignore the presence of automata in the history of Christianity. And there is a famous predecessor, the Mechanical Monk, which was commissioned by Philip II of Spain in 1560s for his sick son. And it currently still exists. And the other day I found actually this short video clip showing it in movement. It keeps a rosary in hand, and it can walk and move the lips. You can see that it's quite amazing for being made in the 16th century. So regarding Santo, I can say that this Mechanical Monk commissioned by Philip II of Spain is the only existing state of the art. Yeah, now it should show the lips moving. It will be interesting also to count how many degrees of freedom, because they seem to be many in such a small object, because it's also quite small. Okay, now regarding the theoretical background. So where did that word theomorphic come from? If you're familiar with robots, you know that common categorization of robot morphology is anthropomorphic, which means shape of a human, it's a Greek word, or zoomorphic, which means shape of an animal, or just commonly called functional, so no particular shape. Once you make a robot that has allegedly supernatural power, it has something more, and this was the case of, especially on before, actually this concept came before Santo, it came with Dharma, with the other one that I will show later. It's not anthropomorphic anymore, but in case it has something more related to the divine, I needed to create a new word. So I made this theo and morphos, which means shape of God, which, what does it mean, shape of God? It could mean anything. In fact, depending on the religion, it can mean anything. Can be, well, not God intended as a monotheistic God, but more in a broad sense of the divine. We can find in all religions there are sacred objects. Think of the Quran, or sacred animals like the cows, the Hindu cows, and holy humans like Jesus or the Holy Mary, sacred nature, and all the crossings in between. And this thing that you see here, Dharma, is a kind of something, an object, but it's slightly anthropomorphic. And curiously, this categorization can be reused for robot morphologies, because we can find every kind of robot for any given design. So that means that what is theomorphic robot? Theomorphic means it can take possibly any of these shapes. So this means that it overlaps with all the previously shown categories, and doing a little bit of surveying state of the art of what are the robots involving somehow with religion. There are some of them which fit into the definition of theomorphic. Some other, they are related to religion, but they are not. And this one in the middle here is the altar to Dionysus, made by Hero of Alexandria in the time of, in a Hellenistic period in ancient Greece. It was an automata placed in temple, inside the temple, and the mechanical monk is here too. But what's the point of doing all this? What are the possible advantages of making a theomorphic robot? I will tell you three. One is that hopefully accepting more favorably, given the familiar appearance to religious user. To religious user, I'm thinking like of my grandmother, and the video clip I showed at the beginning. You can understand how such a design can be successful with her. Second, it could be as well recognized as a protector if the user recognizes as having superior cognitive or perceptual capabilities. And the third one is the lower expectation in terms of human-like communication. You know, we roboticists, in especially social robots, we complain always robots can't match the human ability to communicate, is not human-like enough. Well, all these expectations, which play a big role in the failure of human-robot interaction, they're much lower when there is some divine component which is added into a robot. Because when you, for instance, when you pray to any god, God doesn't answer you back, and this doesn't stop you from communicating somehow. And I would like to add a possible advantage for the robot itself, not for the user. The robot itself will be held in higher regard compared to a non-theomorphic robot. I could mention one extreme case, if I write on the shell of the robot a sentence from the Quran, a Muslim user will recognize it as something that should not be damaged. Because, in case you don't know, for Muslims, you can't throw away a piece of paper if you write some holy words from the Quran in a piece of paper. You have to do a respectful disposal or burn it. So imagine what happens if you write it on the robot. This is later on, maybe after e-VITA, for more relevant regarding Islam. But even without Islam, in general, generally speaking, high regard for an object, I will invite you to think if you will feel any regret in tearing a dictionary, Italian-French dictionary, or the Quran, which one, even if you're not Muslim yourself. Second, this cross was an example of how it made me feel, made me hold in high regard this taxi driver. This was again in Peru, where taxis can be dangerous. There are many robberies, but seeing this cross and seeing this rosary made me feel a little bit comfortable that this guy is not gonna bring me to a far place and then call his friend to rob me. And another funny example, funny for Salvatore, comes from his hometown, I think, which had a rubbish crisis, which was solved not by, well, cleaning, not by any enforcement of law, but by placing holy icons like the Virgin Mary on the streets, and people would not put the rubbish there. So one final point, important component, if we want to get into this theomorphic idea and mechanizing faith, we have to understand that faith has been represented through sacred art through the millennia. And sacred art doesn't only mean art which has a theme, a sacred subject, but it's considered itself sacred because it conveys the feeling of the divine. So I believe that through sacred art, we can achieve a successful automation in faith. And then the second one that I wanted to introduce, Dharma. First, I will start again from the survey, as I split here into theomorphic, non-theomorphic, and for religious use, for other uses. Like you can see pepper here in the middle because it has been used in funerals in Japan. But my goal is to use this design as a mask to do some social good. In particular, Dharma is not such a religious object, is not any god itself, something sacred, inherently sacred, but it's a very cultural object, very, very common in Japan and China. So Japanese elderlies and Chinese people, they all know, they're familiar with this. It's a talisman of good luck, which comes from Buddhism, but is spread in Shinto. And the custom is to paint one eye and think of your wish, and it will keep its eye on your wish until it gets realized, it gets fulfilled. At that time, you paint the other eye. So if you believe into this, you are believing in some supernatural capability of this talisman. And if you believe so, and if we make a robotic version of it, then you understand that it's not an anthropomorphic object anymore, but it needs a new definition. It's, yes, anthropomorphic, partially anthropomorphic with some constraints, but also has some is being attributed some supernatural power. So the first idea was to make a robot, a mock-up. First prototype made a mock-up just with a Raspberry Pi, screen and speakers. It was just a shell, and it was teleoperated, so Wizard of Oz setting, but it gave us some positive results in a couple of nursery homes, as we realized that the user were not afraid, especially if I didn't mention the word robot. If I say it's a talking Dharma, then that will be okay. If I say we want to introduce you a robot, the reaction was already negative in many cases. So this is the first time that it showed the potential as a therapeutic tool and for interacting and collecting health data. So we are in 2016 here, 2017, Dharma TO2. So the version 2 was completed. It had 2 degrees of freedom, LCD facial expression, so it can bow and it can rotate left and right, and had a camera here on the top, and some simple software, so it could make a word game, but not much more than that. For the rest, it was empty. And the mechanical part, the flywheel for yaw and sliding weight for pitch. So these 2 mechanisms which work together, and all the other components are stored somehow into the sphere. These are, yes, facial expressions, but all these things are going to be redesigned for e-VITA. So we are starting now. Unfortunately, I can't show what are we planning to do, but I can tell you that it's something interesting about the new abilities that this thing can do. But what we will not work on is the dialogue, not too much, because it will be just, how can I say, superficial, very superficial for initiating the interaction. And once getting to the main mode, then the coach takes the lead, and the coach controls, basically the AI from the virtual coach controls the Dharma, which is just the front end. So these are considered level 3 prototypes. The future work now are to redevelop them. We are starting from Dharma, make a new version, and then export the changes into Santo and redesign it. On the other hand, a part of the team is working on sensors to integrate, and finally we're gonna run experiments starting from this autumn in Japan and Europe. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabriele. Really ultra interesting presentation. I don't know if in the crowd there is someone that want to ask some question about this work.
It's very original, very original, I think. And can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
And it's well, weird, more or less, but very original. Actually, you try to connect the 21st century with the how do we say, the traditional traditions, let's say. It's very funny. And well, it at least for the elderly, it is probable that they will have a better acceptability with the robot with that. And well, it's really. I had just a little question because unfortunately my connection is not very good today, and I was disconnected. Page 22, I think you showed some newspapers with criticisms, and it was 3 years ago. I was wondering who was. It was not yours, I guess. Your team or your research. What was the? What did they Yes.
About me? Yes.
It was about you.
Yes.
Yourself.
Yes. Yeah. These are all the comments that I collected around, and I even found this on the web.
But where does it come from? This picture?
Oh, I no idea. And it's not much related. But they just this website, they put this picture, and there was the title, and I don't remember the article itself. But yeah, it was about me.
Okay.
But that's just one thing. But then I collected many comments.
Okay, I think it's very, very original. I don't know what to say, but I'm sure a robot with this look will be better accepted even by the people who don't believe. I'm sorry, I don't remember how we say this. It's really a very, very good idea, I think. Really.
Thank you. I wish all reviewers thought the same.
Gabriele,
generally, the even from other roboticists and scientists, the first thing when they hear about this research, they laugh, and then they're gonna say that it's a silly idea, it's ridiculous, so what the hell are you doing? And after they think about it, and after a few hours or a few days, then sometimes they contact me and say, how about the collaboration? It happened several times.
Gabriele, I have my question about the interactive capabilities of such things, because you said that you will not focus on the interaction.
On dialogue. I will not focus on dialogue.
Yeah, sorry, on dialogue, exactly. Yeah, you're right, on dialogue, and maybe on the slide 21, because the priest over there said that providing content is something, interpreting is something else. So I was thinking, with people that have some problems in their life, having the possibility of having a dialogue with such kind of machine, put some, also from, I can say, from the philosophical point of view, it contains some issues, So I don't know if you want to tell us something about that. The idea of listening a kind of oracle.
Yeah, it shouldn't become an oracle. I'm aware of these problems, and these are not even related to e-VITA, because in e-VITA then there would be many functionalities. So like reading a part of the Bible is not part of e-VITA, but it belongs to the robot itself, right? But regarding, yes, this thing about the oracle or getting advices, it's something to be clarified from the beginning. It should be clear to the user that it can't give qualified advices. So depending on how it's introduced and explained, so it should be the equivalent of giving an answer that's pertinent to the topic of your question, and not more than that. So if you're saying something about marrying, and even asking, should I marry? And the robot could go and pick some parts of the Bible or some other books where it's positive regarding wedding, or it could say something negative, or it could say that every man should have a woman and a horse in his home, like he once did. So, but before replying like this, all he can say is that I can't give advice, but I can read you something regarding this topic. Like in a way that if you open the Bible at a random page and try to get inspiration from that, it's purely random. This is something more advanced. It's more pertinent. It's more like Spotify that can give you the prayer you need for a certain occasion or some citations. Probably needs a filter in which contents should be okay to say, and some others, like having a woman and a horse at home, should be put in a blacklist, and so on. There is a lot of work to do in this sense.
And I think we can compare in some way, because you put it was interesting that you put I saw in your taxonomy of the robots that you plotted also the robot priest from Ishiguro, and interestingly you put it like in the axis. Can you explain more these choices? Because I think this robot is able to he can pray with other people and push the other people to pray. No, it's in a temple.
Yeah, I watched the show. I saw what it did. This categorization is regarding the shape. If it's taking the appearance of an existing sacred icon or not. So in case of pepper, it's not. It's just pepper itself. And even this little monk that has been made in China, or the Bless You Too made for the Protestant Reformation in Germany, they look like robot. There is a mechanical arm in India, and if you see Ishiguro's that Buddhist robot in the Buddhist temple, it looks like an android, which resembles a little bit some other of his works. And I would say they did some odd choices regarding the appearance. You can see all the wires coming. It's half like humanoid, but resembling telenoid a little bit, and then with cables that you can see like this. So in this sense, it's completely non-theomorphic. It's just looking like a robot made by them, by Ishiguro's group in Osaka. On the other hand, if you ask the monks if they accept this entity as the god, they said yes, because that Buddhist god, the canon, whatever, it can take any shape. So why not the shape of a robot? That's why it's both, in both sides. So I put it in the middle.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, there are other questions in the crowd? Okay, I don't know. So maybe, okay, thank you. I think it was really, really, really interesting hearing you. It's, I really think this is the second time I hear your presentation, and I always find very, very inspiring, because it's particular use of such platforms that actually is at the same time, as Izzy said, it's so close so far in some way, because I mean, it's rooted on the tradition of Western stuff, but Western stuff. No, it's not just West, because okay, maybe the Santo, but if you give a look to the Dharma is really rooted on the Japanese tradition, and at the same time you inject technology, you inject novelty in some way. So I really find it very inspiring, really enrooted on what innovation is, like taking something old and mixing with something new, and then you obtain the novelty. So I really think that this is something really cool and really inspiring. And the project e-VITA, I really think it makes a lot of sense having such kind of interfaces, because I think that is the best way to explain them. But interfaces are like suitable for a particular kind of user. So I really enjoyed it. So I don't know if there are no more questions. So maybe if you want, we can close here the session of today. And maybe thank again Gabriele and Samuel, that I think maybe left, yeah, because he had some other stuff to do. He wrote me, and I don't know if you want to say some words for closing the session of today.
No, thank you very much, Gabriele. It was really amazing, really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.